I'm going to be surviving 100 days in Ark Scorched Earth while living in this secret rock base, and here's what happened. I started off on day 1 spawning right next to a saber-tooth. Luckily enough, I was able to evade the saber-tooth, allowing me to look for our base spot. Alright, there's where I'm thinking of building. I just gotta get down there. So already I reached my new base spot. Now it was just a matter of getting tools and putting the base down. But before I could do that, a terror bird just decides to jump me. No! Leading to our first death. Well, that was gonna happen eventually. So I respawned and made my way back down to the spot, making a pickaxe with the pickups I got along the way, then learnt some basic engrams. I think I'm just gonna make a bow and like a load of arrows and just see if we can get some hide. I only needed a small amount just to get this cloth armor, because this will help me a little bit with the weather. So I first hit a tree to get a hatchet, then made some of the cloth armor. I just need a little bit of hide to finish the set. I'll try and get to the build spot, but I think I'm gonna die doing that. I'm dead again, bro. There's no way! This happens so much at the start, and it's always terror birds that do it. So I respawned, this time waking up to a storm. Luckily it didn't really affect me that much. I ran back down to my body, then I jumped up to this ledge. Hopefully it's safer up here. Now the plan was to next get a bow, but I needed to actually level up a bit before I could get the blueprint. So I started making thatch foundations for some XP. I know there's probably better ways to level up in the early game, but this is just how I've always done it. Anyways, I managed to get to the right level pretty fast, allowing me to craft a bow and a lot of arrows. Maybe we start sniping all the dinos, clear out a bit. And that is exactly what I started doing. I saw a small fight not too far away from me, so I went over to see if I could clear it up with my new bow. Nice. I want that baby. I quickly grabbed some water and started harvesting all the bodies. Oh, nice. The thorny dragon had a decent cloth hat, so I put that on straight away. Bro, I might just kill these, I'm not gonna lie. These are so low level. Sorry, it has to be done. I mean, I needed hide. I did what had to be done. This is where base is gonna be. Hopefully, if it lets me through. There we go. Now it's a bit vertical. But we can work around that. Now the reason why I wanted to actually build in here is because you don't experience any of the weather defects while being in this rock. And I don't think any dino can actually fit through this small squeeze. So it's really safe for PvE. Next I wanted to add some storage to the base. So I went outside to grab some wood and some thatch. I crafted some storage boxes, foundations, and some ceilings, just to extend base a little bit. Before leaving base again, I deepened some resources in my new chests. I then noticed I had a little visitor outside. Hello, sir. After taking care of him, I left base to harvest hide, thatch, fibre and stone, allowing me to craft some bowlers. Ooh. A new bowl of terror birds? Let me search this up. We can, right, let's do it. I wanted to get some more hide so I could make a bed, so I started taking out this small pack one by one. Oh, baby direwolf, come here. Come on with me. I took my baby direwolf back to base. He should make farming hide a lot easier for me. Stay here. With the hide I got earlier, all I need now is some wood and some thatch, so I grabbed a tree and made that new bed. My priority now is definitely to get that direwolf fully matured. What saddle do you need to ride this thing? Oh, he doesn't need a saddle to be ridden. That works for me. So while I waited for him to grow up, I farmed some stone to make a mortar and pestle. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Anyway, I used that to make narcotics, and then I sat in base, waiting for him to mature fully. And in the early hours of day 2, he was fully grown. Yeah, he's full grown. Oh yeah. I spent some time just hunting dinos and leveling up the wolf, until it reached sunrise when I went back to base. Next I started farming narco berries, because I wanted to tame a morellatops, so I crafted up some narcotics and the saddle. All I needed to do now is actually find one and build a trap for it. To trap it, I'm going to use billboards. I just needed to farm a bit of wood for it. I ended up crafting 4, and shortly after, I managed to find a level 90. And luckily enough, it got burrowed by a burrow buck, so I went straight over and started placing the billboards. And with the morella tops trapped, I started knocking him out. Once he was knocked out, I gave him some medjool berries. Then I hopped on my direwolf to start clearing the area. But this is where stuff started to go really bad. I started attacking this direwolf, thinking there was only one, and then the other showed up. And well, just looking by the health, you can already expect what's about to happen. I try to run, but I get stuck in a log. Our only team just gets absolutely mauled, and you already know that I'm next. I managed to bowler one of them, but while switching to normal arrows, the other one jumped me. And if this was the only thing that happened, it wouldn't have been that deep. As you can clearly see, I clicked on my bed to respawn, but Arks just decided to spawn me in the middle of nowhere.
Why? What?
So I ran to the Scorpion to try and respawn and give it another go. But nope, my bed still just does not work for some reason. So I thought, well, I may as well just try and run back. But this took me so long to do. Thanks to the amazing spawns of Scorched Earth, you die almost instantly every single time. Bro! After a total of 14 deaths, I managed to make my way over to the morella tops. And right after I whistle him, the same pack of direwolves just surround him, leading to his death.
Oh my god.
But it doesn't stop there. One of the wolves then catch up to me, and I die again. Which means I have to make my way all the way back. And I'm sure you can guess how that turned out. Just death after death. So many deaths in fact, that I actually went into day 3. After about death 25, I managed to make it back to base. Since my bed wasn't working, I thought, okay, I'll just place a bag, surely that will work. I then died to a bag of direwolves that had just sat outside, and yep, sleeping bag just does not work.
Oh my, why?
So I had to manually run back to base again, which, well, you know, had me dying a couple of times, but I did manage to get back finally. And I couldn't find my body, unfortunately, so I started doing a little bit of farming again, just to get back all my tools and my bow. And since my respawn points inside of the base just wasn't working, I made a couple of bags and actually placed them outside. So next time I die, hopefully they work. Next I took down a tree, remade my cloth armor and a lot of bowlers, and I also just realized I have a lot of cowboy skins. So you already know I put them on, but now I've got to go back to farming for narcotics. So first I grabbed a lot of narco berries, then I went out hunting to get some spoiled meat. I did this throughout the night, leading into the morning of day 4. I topped up a bit more on narco berries, then I converted them into narcotics, and the narcotics into trank arrows. I'm still aiming to get morella tops, so I grabbed the billboards from earlier, then I set out to try and find one. I ran for a while trying to look for one. I don't know why it took me so long, but I eventually found one. I started trying to trap it, but this scorpion just decided to intervene, and the morella tops ran straight down the cliff. But it very quickly turned night, and it got way too cold, so I had to wait out the night next to these campfires. Heading into day 5, I made my way back down to the morella tops, where I started to try and trap him, but he decided to run over to a pack of direwolves because my luck's just great in this game. So I left to search for another one, this time running in the opposite direction, where I eventually found this low level one in this corner. So I went ahead and trapped him, knocked him out, and made a saddle while I was waiting for him to wake up. And then the Ark gods decided to bless me again by spawning a scorpion which instantly killed the morella tops. So I had to search for another morella tops, which again took me a decent amount of time, but I do eventually find one. I managed to trap her and knock her out. While she was taming up, I heard a jerboa, so I went ahead and bowled him, then tamed him up, which only took a couple of minutes because he was such a low level.
You will be named a rat.
This little guy is actually really helpful because he makes noises which warns you when there's going to be a certain storm. I haven't really played this map that much, so I don't really know how he works fully, but I'm sure I'll learn as I play. A few minutes passed and the morella tops was fully grown. So I saddled her up and thought I'd do a little narco berry run just in case she dies, because at least then I can craft a lot of narcotics to just tame another one. It then started turning night, and since I had a decent amount of narco berries, I thought I'd make my way back to base. I kept the Morella tops up here on this ledge, because she's probably safer up here. Entering base, I then crafted up a lot of narcotics. Moving on, I wanted to upgrade our storage in the base, so I lent the engram for a bigger storage box. Then I took down a few trees, using the wood and thatch to make the new boxes. While I was crafting, I noticed that the Morella tops was being attacked, so I went over and quickly took care of that, which led us into day 6. I then placed down those boxes, and decided to go get some metal. I took the Morella tops just because it would be a lot faster than running. I almost reached a nearby metal spawn, but I got surrounded by a pack of direwolves, so I had to ditch the Morella tops. But I managed to make it out alive, so that's something. I started scaling this canyon because I assumed there'd be metal at the top. I made a bag along the way just in case I needed to respawn. And luckily enough, further up the mountain, I managed to find crystal and then a metal node. I grabbed the entire metal node because I knew I'd need a lot. I ended up getting just shy of 90 metal ore, which is definitely not bad for a stone pickaxe. And since I was dying to dehydration, I placed that bag I crafted earlier. After dying, I respawned on my bag, and it actually worked this time.
It's actually spawned me on the back this time, lovely.
So I kitted up and started running back to base. I found the waterfall near our rock and decided to try the jump. I assumed the water would be deep enough, but apparently it wasn't. So I spawned in an outside bag right next to my death and grabbed my body. I depot the materials we just got into base. I then wanted to make a forge to start smelting the metal, but I realised I needed some more materials. So I went out to farm a little bit, and once I had enough, I made that forge and started smelting the ore into ingots. Next I crafted a little bit of cementing paste. This allowed me to make a water jar, and I also made a spyglass. While the metal was smelting, I left base to hunt for some more hides because I'd need some for the smithy. I boiled this Limantria and started harvesting it, and I realised it actually gives you silk, not hide, but this is still useful later on. I ended up killing this direwolf, which gave me just enough to make a smithy. With the new metal ingots that I just smelted, I was able to make some metal tools and a crossbow. I grabbed the narcotics because my next goal was to get some sort of tame. So I headed out and ended up finding a level 120 Sabertooth, which was actually already stuck in a tree. So I placed a couple of billboards behind it and knocked her out. She conveniently had a baby near her, which I ended up harvesting to get some prime meat, which went straight into her inventory. I realised that the Sabertooth saddle would cost 300 hide, which I just did not have at the time. So while I waited for Sabertooth to wake up, I went out and did a little bit of hunting. This led into the morning of day 7, where I got burrowed by this burrow buck, which I just did not see, which led to me and Rat's death, unfortunately. By the time I respawned, the Sabertooth was already up, so I grabbed my stuff and took the Sabertooth out to hunt for hide, where I quickly reached the 300 hide that I needed. So I went ahead and made that saddle, and rode the saber for the first time. And shortly after, I found this level 150 male, which I just had to tame. So I knocked him out, then I left to find some prime meat. I managed to snipe this baby Morella tops, which gave more than enough, and the Sabertooth quickly woke up. Once I leveled both sabers up a little bit, I think I'm going to start breeding them just for backups. I've just got to pray that they survive. Moving on, I swapped the saddles so I could use the better Sabertooth. Then I made desert cloth armor, which should help with the weather defects. It's a lot better than just cloth, that's for sure. It does look a bit ugly though, so I ended up skinning them. After this, I realised that I had run out of metal, so I hopped on the saber and started my journey to find another metal node. On my way over, I looted my first drop of the run, but it was pretty awful. The only thing that might be useful is salt, but I'm not even really sure what it's used for. I did end up finding a metal node however, so I started mining the node, and I grabbed as much as I could without being overweight. After making it back to base, I started cooking the metal, allowing me to finally repair my crossbow. Now, I really want to extend base, but I'm going to need a lot of resources. And to do this, I'm going to need a thorny dragon and a doiduck, so I set off to try and find one. On the way, I opened this green airdrop, where I got some med brews, crystal, and some clay, which is definitely a lot better than our first drop. Eventually I find this level 120 thorny dragon, so I trap him with billboards, you know the drill, and while tranking him out, we actually go into day 8, and after knocking him out, I gave him some prime meat, but it was really close to spoiling, so I had to go out and get some more. I eventually find this fight with a couple of baby dinos, so I go over and I get dismounted by a Microraptor. I get swarmed by so many dinos, so of course I end up dying. So I respawned and got back to my Sabertooth, so I quickly mounted onto him. I thought I'd be able to get away, but I get dismounted once again, leading to another death, but somehow I managed to get back there and my Sabertooth still hadn't died. So I quickly swapped saddles with the Sabertooths and managed to find my body. I made my way back to the Thorny Dragon, and not long after, he woke up, so I took him back to base and made him a saddle. With the Thorny Dragon fully tamed, I just need to get that Doiduck, so I went out to try and look for one, and sure enough, I find a level 80, so I trap her and knock her out. While waiting for her to wake up, I started farming wood with this Thorny Dragon, and farming wood is so much faster with this thing. This led into the night where I made a Doiduck saddle, and in the morning of day 9, she finally tamed up. I ended up naming her Rolly for obvious reasons, and then I took her out to farm stone and sand for a decent amount of the day. Before checking this airdrop, it had so much potential. The only thing that was alright, I guess, was the Doiduck saddle, but straight after this, it was back to farming. I had a lot of sand by now, so all I needed now was this cactus. I farmed so much that it led into day 10, and after a while of farming, I started making it all into clay. I managed to make quite a lot, so I started making all the adobe structures that I'd need, and then I started building. And so that was the end of day 10.